Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to dive deep into the emotional numbness of modern work and then completely break down the science of building a fulfilling career. Picture this for a second. It's 9 p.m. in a quiet IT office. A worker is sitting there staring blankly at an open Excel sheet, but his eyes are actually just glued to his phone, mindlessly scrolling through travel vlogs. Now, on paper, his life is perfectly set up, but inside there's just this profound emptiness. It's a daily, numbing grind. If you have ever felt that exact same way, sitting in traffic, absolutely dreading that Monday morning alarm and wondering, man, is this really all there is? Well, you are definitely in the right place today.
And if you do feel that way, the data actually proves you are far from alone. According to a 2024 Gallup poll covering over 160 countries, a staggering 77% of global workers are entirely disengaged from their jobs. Yep, 77%. They're either quietly quitting or they are actively dreading their work environments. Just 23% are genuinely engaged. The fallout from this isn't just about lost company profits. It is a massive, deeply personal human cost. We're talking about millions of people trading the absolute best years of their lives for a paycheck, all while feeling completely dead inside. So today, we are unpacking the science of getting unstuck. We'll be walking through the middle class trap, the passion myth, the exposure problem, finding flow state, the 3E action plan, and finally, building your Ikigai. Let's just jump right in. Starting off with Section 1, the middle class trap. How exactly is this golden cage built around us without us even realizing it? Well, let's look at a pretty typical journey. We'll call him a myth. At 16, a random poster for a coaching center pretty much dictates his entire future. By 22, he graduates carrying engineering debt. At 23, he lands a job with a modest $25K salary. Just to feel like he's making some sort of progress in life, he takes on a bike EMI at 25 and then a massive home loan at 28. At this point, he isn't really building a future anymore, right? He's just servicing debt, physically and financially unable to walk away from a toxic job. This trap doesn't just build itself, it's heavily cemented by four major pillars. First, there's societal FOMO, the fear of missing out every time we see our friends' vacation posts. Then there's educational debt. Third, that never-ending EMI cycle we just talked about. And finally, a toxic hustle culture that constantly tries to convince us a 70-hour work week is some kind of badge of honor, rather than what it really is, a one-way ticket to burnout.
Which brings us to Section 2, the passion myth. So how do we actually break out of this? The standard cliché advice is always to follow your passion, but behavioral science tells a completely different story. Based on a landmark 2018 Stanford study and the work of author Cal Newport, we learned something crucial. Passion is not a hidden treasure to be found. It is a plant that must be grown. The idea that passion is something you magically discover just by looking inward is honestly a deeply harmful myth. It literally keeps you passive, just waiting around for a lightning strike that's never going to come. The difference here is huge. Follow your passion assumes it's just innate. You close your eyes, meditate, and wait for it to reveal itself. The reality? You have to pick up a watering can. You have to actually dive into a skill, get undeniably good at it, and gain some autonomy. It's only after you build that competence that the feeling of passion actually begins to grow. Let's move to Section 3, the exposure problem. Now, if passion is something we have to actively build, why do over 80% of people fail to ever build it? Well, it mostly comes down to a massive lack of exposure. Think about this. There are over 12,000 globally recognized career categories. 12,000. Yet our traditional school systems introduce us to maybe 10 or 15 of them. Doctor, engineer, lawyer, accountant. If you've never been exposed to the other 11,985 options, like becoming a custom shoe painter, for example, how on earth are you supposed to know what to build your passion in? This leads us right into a fascinating career strategy from David Epstein's book, Range. Society conditions us to be early specializers, meaning we're pressured to pick a lane at age 16. But there's another path, late specializers or samplers. These are people who try a bunch of different things early on. Think of sports legends like Roger Federer or MS Dhoni. By sampling widely, they might look like they're falling behind at first, but ultimately they find an authentic fit and win way bigger in the long run. Let's look at Section 4, finding your flow state. Okay, so once you start exploring and sampling all these options, what exact feeling are you searching for? You are hunting for the flow state. Introduced by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi in 1990, flow is that magical psychological zone where your mind and body are 100% focused on a perfectly challenging task. It's not too easy, not too hard. You lose all track of time, you completely forget your phone exists, and ironically, you come out of it feeling deeply energized. That is the ultimate target.
Let's look at what hunting for flow looks like in the real world. Take Neha, a homemaker who tried launching a cloud kitchen. Her very first cake order was a complete disaster. Her family told her to just quit. At that moment, she faced a brutal choice: retreat to the absolute safety of comfortable slavery and give up, or push through the humiliation toward uncomfortable freedom and try again. She chose the uncomfortable freedom, tried again, eventually found her flow state, and built a thriving business.
So how do we actually do this? Section 5, the 3E action plan. You definitely can't leave finding flow to chance. Here is a proven scientific roadmap out of the trap. We call it the 3E formula. Step 1, explore. Spend 30 days casually discovering 30 completely different careers. Step 2, engage. Narrow that list down to the 5 that excite you the most and do real-world mini projects for them. Step 3, excel. Take the single path that gave you the most flow and commit to building deep skills in it for 6 straight months. Now for step 2, engage. I know exactly what you're thinking. I do not have time for that. But listen to this. Author Josh Kaufman proved that 20 hours is the threshold to reach a reasonably good level at any new skill. 20 hours. That is literally just 45 minutes a day for a single month. Whether you're trying out coding or woodworking, dedicating just 1 month is enough to know if a skill is truly right for you. And when you finally reach step 3, excel, you've got to realize the honeymoon phase is going to end. That is exactly when you need grit. Psychologist Angela Duckworth defines grit as the combination of passion and perseverance. Grit is the engine that keeps you doing targeted, deliberate practice even when it gets incredibly, painfully boring. That consistency is the raw engine of real mastery. Bringing it all together in Section 6, building your Ikigai. By persistently following that 3E plan, you are literally building your Ikigai. It's this profound Japanese concept from Okinawa, a place where people live incredibly long, fulfilling lives and don't even have a word for retirement. Your Ikigai emerges perfectly at the intersection of 4 things: what you love, what you're actually good at, what the world desperately needs, and what you can be paid for. And remember our golden rule today. You don't discover this intersection by accident. You build it, piece by piece. If you're worried about trying to explore all this while still holding down your 9 to 5, don't be. Research from San Francisco University uncovered a fascinating truth. Having a side passion project doesn't distract you. It actually improves your performance at your primary job. It boosts your creativity and drastically slashes burnout. So building your Ikigai after 9 p.m. isn't a threat to your livelihood at all. It's actually a lifeline. We've mapped out the trap, we've debunked the passion myth, and we've explored the actual science of finding flow. The ultimate question is really up to you now. Since we have the scientific roadmap out of the golden cage, will you take that very first step to explore today? Or are you just going to wait for the alarm to ring again on Monday morning, silencing that inner voice that absolutely knows you are meant for more? Thanks for exploring this with me on today's Explainer. The clock is ticking. What are your first 45 minutes going to look like?